first, I want to wish you all a Happy New Year. Now, you may think I'm a little late for New Year's, but the way the year goes by, it seems like it was just yesterday, doesn't it? But the Chinese New Year is actually going to be on Monday, January 23rd. And according to Chinese astrology, this is the year of the dragon. The dragon is the only animal that is legendary. And the Chinese associate the dragon with power and wisdom. And the year of the dragon is considered to be auspicious. And so we are entering an auspicious time. And you know, from our consideration of this global society in which we live to our thoughts of arts integration, it is a whole new world that we're dealing with. But some things don't change. Susan, go ahead to the next slide, and we're going to look at arts in the schools. And the thing that we hope doesn't change is arts as curriculum, the arts as an important part of the ongoing basic curriculum within a school. Another way that the arts are presented and included in schools is through an arts-enhanced curriculum. Now, an arts-enhanced curriculum sometimes masquerades as arts integration, but it's really not. An arts-enhanced curriculum is one in which the arts are used to teach something else. So, for example, if we're learning the alphabet, we sing the alphabet song. That's not really arts integration. It's really enhancing the curriculum using the arts. And what this program is about and what we're talking about with arts integration is a different thing. And so, Susan, go to the next slide. And when we think about a definition of arts integration, we're looking at an approach to teaching and learning. It's a way that we are presenting information to differentiate instruction. In arts integration, students experience and demonstrate their learning through the arts. So they're learning through the arts, they're demonstrating what they know through the arts. Students are engaged in creative processes that link the arts with other subject areas. A really important thing about arts integration is that goals and objectives in both the curriculum area and the arts are met simultaneously. We clearly and consciously have goals in both. I like to look at the etymology of our language. The word integrate comes from the Latin integrar, to make something whole. And indeed, that's what happens when we have arts integration. We're making subject matter whole and more exciting. Moving along, when we integrate the arts, our goal is to value the unique parts of the whole. The arts are not really more important here. The curriculum is not really more important. Each has a part to share, and each is important. In arts integration, we want to make natural and meaningful connections between the arts and the other curricular areas. So it's a 2-for-1, and I love it because it's like a sale. We get 2 for the price of 1. So in arts integration, we're connecting the arts to the other subject. We're teaching meaningful content in both. We're utilizing the arts to build student learning. We're linking the school to the community through the arts. We're using the arts to reach students who otherwise might not be reached. We've got those kids in our classrooms or in our community settings that are there, but it's not really happening for them. But the arts really help us. For the students who are getting it, the arts still reach them in ways that otherwise they're not able to be reached. The arts touch a different part of our brains as well as our hearts and souls. The arts connect students to themselves and to each other. And in our society of isolation, that's really important just in and of itself. The arts also give learning opportunities for the adults. Adults are learning right along with the kids. And that's pretty exciting, this intergenerational look at learning. The arts provide learning challenges for students who are successful because we're looking at things in different ways. No longer is it about memorizing facts and pieces of information, but it's about making connections and building stronger learning. The arts also connect students to experiences in the world of work. Now, these findings are from a great variety of studies that are reported in Champions of Change, which is a publication by the Arts Education Partnership, the partnership between the United States Department of Education and the National Endowment for the Arts. This is listed with materials that I will show you a little later in our presentation today. And so, as we think about this, principals are talking about arts integration in their schools. They're seeing the teachers are teaching in different ways. That one principal says that this year the arts integration is taking off at my school. And I think that this year is important because this is a journey. It lasts over a period of time. It's not like suddenly we're going to do arts integration and then next week it's happening all over the school. It takes time. And teachers are in schools in which arts integration has been going on. Teachers think about the arts when they plan. So it's not just spur of the moment. This suddenly jumped into my head and I'm able to do this. It's planning it. So we are consciously working on integrating the arts in successful ways. Teachers see that the arts are easily integrated. And they have stated that the lowest 25% of the class that usually aren't participating now are fully engaged in their lessons. And teachers go on to say that they get excited. The kids get excited and the lessons come alive. And so, Susan, you can go to the next slide. The teachers are reaching those hard-to-reach students, and it's helping with the behavior in their class and their classroom management, as well as helping kids to remember the information that is being taught to them. And when it comes right down to the bottom line, in school, what we're really trying to do is help kids to have higher levels of achievement. And the arts integration approach has been shown to allow that. Now, we've got another little poll for you. If we implement arts integration, will the arts, that is music, drama, dance, visual arts, as core subjects be threatened? And so do you think, yes, arts integration is threatening the core subjects of the arts, or no, or you don't really have an opinion about this? Take a minute to register your responses.
And I should just mention, unfortunately, our choices of roles in the earlier polls, a couple of people emailed or sent a question and said we didn't have the right category. So we'll look at your categories and try and expand them for the next time to include everyone. I think we had some higher education people who were left out. So.
Goody, we're glad you're here.
Yay. Yes. So just about everyone has voted now, so I'm going to share that information.
So 10% of our people feel that the core subjects will be, the core arts subjects will be threatened. 83% say no, and 8% have no opinion. Excellent. I'm with the no's because what I have found is that when teachers and administrators and the community are experiencing more arts, they want more arts. And so arts integration really is helping the role of the arts within the school if it's presented and taught properly. So moving along, we're really in arts integration thinking about change. We're thinking about changing the philosophy in the school and the way that people think about education. Now, the first order of change is easy. It says, take the next step. But the second order of change is where the situation becomes much more dramatic. We alter the way that we think, we alter the system in fundamental ways. And these changes in our thinking really require us to do things differently and to have a whole new way of thinking. Robert Marzano is one of the fathers of that kind of thought. But you know, this idea of thinking and doing has been around for a long time. That's what one of the fathers of American education, John Dewey, was saying in the early 1900s. In this program that we're undertaking with the Florida Alliance for Arts Education, we've probably got three primary goals. One is to build capacity for working with strategies that are integrating the arts by teaching artists. Another is to empower teachers and others in community settings so that they can meaningfully integrate the arts with other curricula every day. So teaching artists is one target. Teachers plus community people in various community settings is another target. And the third thing that's equally important is that we're looking at building effective strategies for our work together, because the practice of arts integration, much like the content itself, is a combined thing. It's not just teaching artists working or just teachers working. It's us working together because we have different pieces of the puzzle. And the reason that we want to work together and bring the best from the arts world and the best from the education world together to enhance one another is because we really think it's going to make us all better teachers, whether we come at it from the point of view of a teaching artist or an educator. So the best teachers in schools, according to research, have 6 times as much impact on their students as the bottom third of the teachers within a school. And so we want to be those best teachers within a school. Having an above average teacher for 5 years can close the achievement gap. And we know that there is a large achievement gap. Now, do you think that arts integration can impact changes in individual teachers, schools, community organizations? Yes? No? No opinion? What do you think? I'm going to make a prediction about what you think based on what you've been thinking.
Well, and we have a lot of teachers and teaching artists, so I think they're probably in the business because they think they can make a difference. Okay, I think we got everyone.
Yes, 98%. And you know what? That is, of course, what I would consider to be the right answer. And research supports that. When teachers believe that their students can learn, the students are more likely to learn and to have the opportunity to develop and grow within their work. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Susan. I'm sorry, guys, that's my telephone ringing. Should have unplugged it and didn't think of it. So what can we do about it? How can we make a difference? Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
Whoops, go back one, please. The critical thing that we are going to be thinking about in the next few minutes here is the idea of building relationships. And who are we going to build relationships with, and how are we going to go about building? So let's flip over. The top 3 here is a teacher or other professionals, so a person working in an arts organization or a university or whatever. The teacher, professional, and the teaching artist is one relationship that is really primary and key. We're pretty good at building relationships with students. We have to build some sort of relationship with the administrator within a school or community setting, because otherwise our programs probably wouldn't be happening. Then other groups that we want to focus on and build relationships with include parents, citizens, arts community, and the media. Sometimes we, in our programs with the collaborations between teaching artists and teachers, sometimes we don't go to develop those relationships with parents, citizens, arts community, and media. What we'd like to ask you is, in your previous collaborations between teachers, professionals, and teaching artists, how many of the target relationships have you typically addressed. And so this doesn't mean over the whole course of your career, but like in your last residency, in your last collaboration, which of those target relationships did you actually consciously work on? So it doesn't matter which ones, but just how many of them. I'm assuming everybody had 3 because you kind of have to have those first ones.
Okay, the polls are closing, and
32% had those 3 relationships. Great. 34% had 4 of the 7. 17% had 5 of the 7. 10% had 6, and 7% had 7. I'd say that we did pretty well in that, and it gives us perhaps some targets for continued development and continued movement forward. Moving into arts integration, as perhaps you can see even from that poll that we just looked at, moving into arts integration causes us all to have new roles. And so now we'd like to just talk it over a little bit. What are some of the new roles that you, from whatever your perspective is, if you're a teaching artist, a teacher, an arts teacher, a community person, a higher education person, from whatever your position is, what are some of those new roles? Now this time, rather than taking a poll, we're going to go to that chat part of the our
okay. And Erica has her hand up. Erica, I just unmuted you, so if you'd like to make a comment, go ahead.
Oh, I really don't know what to say right now.
Okay.
Now, when you're putting your answer in, if you would preface it by saying who you are, not your name necessarily, but say teacher, blah, blah, arts teacher, put a colon, and then just tell us, and it might be 1 word or 2 words that you're going to say for what the new roles might be.
Let's see. Howard Moss had his hand up. I'll unmute you. Howard, if you would want to talk about new roles for you.
Oh, well, I guess I was really trying to see if you could hear me or knew I was here.
Yeah.
New roles, I've accomplished 4 of them, I guess, and I would say that I would probably reach out to media more. Actually, I think it's possible to reach all of those goals.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I do.
And Howard, are you a teaching artist?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
More media. Good.
Okay, I've got a couple more people who had thoughts. Laura Dime?
Oh, that's Laura Deem.
Deem, sorry. Yes.
That's okay. Yes, when I did a class last spring, in particular, this particular class, besides working with the teacher and the students, going over the particular curriculum, what we were going to do, we also had some teachers from, I guess you would call them teachers from administration that came to observe, and actually they partaked in some of the lesson. I also had parents that came to see their finished product. So yeah, and the whole residency that we had done, I would say we touched on 4 of those different key relationships.
Excellent. That's great, Laura. Thank you.
And Lee Cohen, I just unmuted you. You want to talk about some of your different roles?
Yeah, well, I had put my hand up because I didn't know if you guys can hear me earlier.
Well, see, what happens is I keep everyone muted, and then when you put your hand up, I unmute you so you can respond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the last residency that I did was a fascinating one because not only did the children were touched with it, the students, the teacher. I have now constant communication with the teachers through text messaging whenever they ask me how they can use the arts for a lesson or what have you. But they had people that had gone to the school to see and oversee the work that they have been doing all throughout the school, and a lot of them kept coming into the classroom to see the artwork the children were doing with me. So I like to basically focus a lot on media because I think it's very important that the public knows what's going on and the parents learn that how the arts are very important for the children to learn and be more independent. So, you know, to me it's more important to have a lot of contact with the media and try to get the word out there.
Excellent. Excellent. We'll take one more if anybody else would like to.
There, I saw someone else, Sarah Henderson. You are on.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes. Yes.
All right. So I do think the media is important. You know, sometimes we can live in a vacuum in a school system, and so I see a lot more of crossing over in the Osceola County school system anyway. I know that Facebook, a lot of the teachers are getting together on Facebook, at least the art teachers, so we know when someone's doing something, so we try to support each other, and we know if we can get our kids to the event. The other thing is I did something in an art community, and it was really cool because I had to go into the schools and find the students, and they came to this art community, and we did a project where they had to do use the arts to figure out what the problems were between teens and parents. And it was really cool because after that we not only had the art community involved, but we also had the schools involved, and we had parents. The parents had to go through, the kids picked the games that they liked the best, and they made their parents play them with them. So it was really kind of an infused thing. Even though it was outside the school system, the kids were, you know, found within the Osceola County grouping. So it was nice.
That's fantastic, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
Mary, I want to read just one comment that we got from Enrique about building relationships with state departments and district offices.
Great.
Which is another area. That's good.
Absolutely. If we're going to make a difference, we have to reach in all directions. Going back to Sarah for just a second, Sarah mentioned that in the community project that she was working with, they identified a problem, and kids and parents were working together to come up with their creative solutions. And so she was really moving us into the idea of 21st century skills that are so important for the engagement and the action in what we're trying to do. So thank you for mentioning that. Sarah also mentioned the social media and the importance of that, as did Laura when she talked about her role really as a coach when she is providing these messages via text message to the teachers with whom she works. So thank you all for sharing those things. I just brainstormed a teensy little bit about some of these new roles. And one of them for a teacher, the teacher with whom the teaching artist frequently would be paired within a school, the teacher becomes a resource to the teaching artist. The teacher knows things that the teaching artist maybe hasn't thought about or doesn't have experience with, and so the teacher becomes a resource. The arts teacher can also become a resource to both the teaching artist and to teachers. The teacher is a collaborator in planning, implementing, assessing, and documenting. And that sequence of planning, implementing, assessing, documenting is kind of what we will be looking at throughout our program, because the alignment of these different pieces of program delivery is really critically important to us. The teacher is left with perhaps what is a new role of practicing using the new materials and strategies that have come into the classroom or to the community setting through the leadership and inspiration brought by the teaching artist. So the part of what we're trying to do is empower teachers to be able to utilize these strategies in an ongoing basis, because we know that's how we can really make a long-term impact. The arts teacher is a resource, also has an opportunity to continue demonstrating strategies that are presented. So this just touches some of the new roles, and let's flip over to the teaching artist. And I think in the next slide, I think that you have mentioned these things. The teaching artist, of course, is going to be a collaborator, is a coach to those teachers or community people. is a communicator. This is really critical and key, that the lines of communication are very strong. And I loved when Laura talked about getting people to know about the meaning and value of arts education. A teaching artist needs to be an informed arts advocate. I bet you sometimes you don't realize the power that you have as a teaching artist, coming in from the outside and sharing information within the school. So being an informed advocate really matters. We'll touch on more resources to help you with that role. But to make the necessary connections going on, Susan, for success, we have to have time for this collaborative planning between the teaching artist and the teacher, and among teachers themselves. We also have to have the opportunity and the time for sharing what we're learning and what we're doing. And so a teaching artist may be bringing into the classroom some information, and then the teacher with whom the teaching artist has been working has the opportunity to share it with the team that he or she works with. That's really important. It empowers teachers to be able to share this information with others as well. Going on, we need to make the work that we do visible within the school. And so the look of the school or the community center or setting where we're working needs to reflect the idea that arts integration is going on here. And so the art in public places provides a lasting impact of the work and helps us to keep the arts in people's minds. And so you see kind of a leave behind of some of the projects, and they're beautifully executed. Go ahead, Susan.
I think my mouse ran out of energy. I was clicking away and it wasn't going anywhere, but I have a keyboard here. So
sometimes that happens to all of us.
It's the end of the day.
But leaving the work in prominent places so that people can think about it, can think of the impact of what has happened within the classroom, and let this impact last within the classroom or the community setting. We're creating, don't go quite so fast, Susan.
Okay.
We're creating new learning environments. And so if you can go to the previous one, you see this teaching artist has set up a large still life. I think you have just seen that. Set up a large still life, and it stimulates a lot of conversation about what a still life is. Anybody who happens into this particular space sees it, and then you see the quality of the work from the students that has been generated by this. There's another important element here, that the students had the opportunity to choose the part of the work that they were going to be going to focus on. And that's a really important thing in our overall success. Now, let's spend a moment with this image. In this image, we see the student artwork, and it is easier to showcase visual art than it is the performing arts, because the performing arts are here and gone, and so how do we do that? We'll come to that. But in this image, you see the connection with the artist, and so in this case they're working with Calder. You see the connection with the artist in the two posters that are on the left side of your screen. You see an explanation about the Calder and what the students have done in class to integrate the work that he is presenting. They're doing in the style of with what they have experienced here. Go ahead to the next slide, Susan. And the pictures that are here, the photos from the classroom, are showing the students' process in the learning. You can see at the top of the screen that finally students can cut shapes from the lines in the paper. That is telling us what they did, so it doesn't look like just, oh, well, this is a very interesting art project that they did. It tells them why they're doing it. It tells a viewer why the students are engaged in this and what they have learned from it that connects to their curriculum as well as to their arts form. The idea of taking photos of students' process in the learning can apply just as easily and perhaps even more usefully to the performing arts because, as I said earlier, they're here and they're gone. In a school in which arts integration is important, artists come to the school. The artists are sharing their art with the students in classes as well as sometimes doing performances for the whole school. What we want to do is document those artists' visits so that people will know that an artist was there helping to do these beautiful murals or helping the students with the work, and that it integrated into the curriculum that the students were studying. I'm saying document your artist visits both from the teacher's perspective or the community arts perspective and from the teaching artist perspective. And I'm reminded of that old story of the tree in the forest. If the tree in the forest falls and no one is there to hear it, did it really happen? It's really kind of the same with the things that we're doing in arts integration. If we do it and it's great and fantastic and it really makes an impact in the classroom, that is essential, critical, and exactly what we want. But we can get more bang for the buck out of it by then pumping it up and letting people know. Make it last, make it known in what we're doing. So go to the next slide, Susan. Seeing the arts in action in the community is very, very important. And as teaching artists and advocates for arts integration from our various other perspectives that are represented here today, we want to promote getting into the community to experience the arts in a live fashion because it makes a difference in what is happening. Go ahead to the next slide. Oh, stay right here.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're perfect. We want the arts to be included in assignments that kids are going to get. And this is where the collaboration between the classroom teacher and the teaching artist or the community arts agency and the teaching artist is so critical because it's not just what you do as a teaching artist that moment that you're in the classroom. It's also what happens when you leave to make the arts be an embedded part of the culture within that classroom, within that school, within that community center. And so we want the arts to be consciously included as a part of a lesson plan and as a part of the assignments that the students will have. Go ahead to the next slide. Before we leave that lesson plan, I do want to mention that we're standards-based. We're looking at the standards that have been developed for the state of Florida because that is what's used in our schools in Florida. Some states are using the national standards as their basis, but we have developed Florida standards in each of the curriculum areas, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Now, go ahead to the next slide. It kind of goes along with the idea of the leave behinds and putting a focus on the work that you're doing. Photos, still photos taken with your digital camera are really great. Some of you probably have flip cameras, and I really do love them because they're so easy to use and students can easily use them, and we can easily share the results of the flip via email. If you're not familiar with that, it's FLIP, and I suggest that you just look it up on the web so that you can see the various flip cameras that are available. It's an easy means to capture and sharing video, which will be very important to this project. In this particular slide, you can see how that all of the beautiful images that you were seeing with the quilt being formed by these students were really connecting back to their study of radiant energy and the radiant energy both from the sun and from other sources was an important part of making this artwork happen. But focusing in on the other curricular area as well as the arts area is what's really important in what we're doing. You can see that those kids in the weather poetry were studying collage. Here the students are studying the Underground Railroad, and they're using some of their ideas about quilt making to create this book. Go ahead. We want to share the arts. So if you're doing something that is a performance, make an opportunity for public sharing of the work that you have done within the classroom. The public sharing could just be with the principal coming in to see the results of the work, or it could be the class that you're working with sharing with another class. You can see in this photo and in this one as well that the idea of students collaborating with one another is very important, and as we work on the lessons and so on that we're working on, building in specific ways for student collaboration is really an important part of what we want to do. In order to be that informed advocate for arts education and for arts integration, we each need to get to know results of some of the research in the area of arts integration. Surprisingly, research in arts integration has been going on pretty strongly over the past 30 years, and so this is a pretty long history. And now we're looking at critical links, which is also published by the Arts Education Partnership. This was a huge study done by James Catterall. It's had quite a bit of publicity. 25,000 middle and high school students is a large enough sample that you can really feel confident that these are true numbers. Students who are highly involved in the arts perform better on all kinds of academic measures. They have better grades, greater community service, fewer hours of television, and it was particularly beneficial to students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. The arts tend to level the playing field, which makes the arts and arts integration experiences very important for all of our students, not just certain ones. It looks like the formatting on this slide got a little mixed up, but this is the Davenport School of the Arts in Polk County, and it's looking at FCAT math scores and those students who scored at levels 3 through 5. And as you know, we must get a level 3 in order to, quote, pass the FCAT. And so in this slide, you see 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade sort of following the same kids over that period of 4 years. And if you look at the red score, that is the state average. You look at the yellow score, that is the Polk County average. The green scores on the grid are the Davenport School of the Arts, where the arts themselves are playing a very important role, as is arts integration. This pretty clearly shows the impact of a strong arts program. Whipping out a chart like this to share with a school principal helps us to build our case. This was from preliminary data taken in the Palm Beach County project that has been ongoing for the past 4 years. And this was from the first year of the project. And you can see that in the first year, the kids who were classified as high risk in kindergarten were 35%. By the second year, that number was down to 25%. You can see the changes, and they feel that the only thing that was different was arts integrated instruction. We all know that it's very difficult to single out a particular thing as the reason, but we also know that having these opportunities encourages a change in the work. So FCAT 4th grade writes, at the beginning of the year, a group of 4th graders achieved a score of 1.8 on the FCAT writes, but by the end of the year, those same kids were at 4.1. Part of what this data is telling us is that when we have targeted goals and objectives, and we know what the outcome is that we're looking for, what success will look like, then we're able to get to that point. But if we go in and we're just kind of doing what feels good or what seems to be fun, then maybe we're not going to be able to have the achievement levels that we otherwise might. We also know that arts integration helps kids come to school, and we can't really learn if we're not in school. The arts pilot classes, that is those that had arts integration, the average number of days absent in this Palm Beach County school was 7.04, whereas the non-arts classes 11.19. 4 days of school makes a big difference. We're trying to focus the work that we do so that it is data-driven. I know that you can't possibly read this page, but it shows you FCAT scores, and the scores are indicated according to the various categories on the FCAT that are being measured. And so you're able to tell, and it's color-coded, so these colors are telling you that these kids are achieving an appropriate level, these kids are not, these kids are kind of in the middle. If we had different kinds of interventions, these kids probably would be able to move up. So these charts tell you this. The classroom teachers in public schools and private schools are able to tell you what all of this means. And so this is another piece of collaboration. And so in designing a residency, looking at the data that is how they're driven in their classrooms and analyzing what the specific target areas are for focus and improvement is going to help teaching artists in collaboration with others to design residencies that are going to help address the specific needs. Does this mean that a teaching artist needs to change everything that they're doing? No. The teaching artist needs, though, to be aware of what others are, what the needs are in the academic areas so that the residency can be shaped to address those particular needs. So I'm not going to read all of this information for you, but it does give me the opportunity to mention that the webinar will be archived and will be available for you. Susan will be sending you information about how to access that. So if you want to have these charts, or if you want to look at something more closely, you'll have the opportunity to do that. You know, I wanted to mention that in the July 28, 2011 Education Week, a study by the Arizona State University and the University of Wisconsin was mentioned. And it talked about the most recent, one of the most recent experiments in the Scientific Studies of Reading journal indicated that the students who were in the area of elementary mathematics, the study of word problems, the students who dramatized the text in word problems were more accurate and less distracted in their study of math than the students who did not do that dramatization. That's a little example of a study that is really directed at a specific goal and had a specific outcome that was helpful. I hope that we're going to be able to have some of those very targeted efforts in the work that we're doing within this project. Go ahead to the next slide, Susan. I know that most of you are familiar with the FAAE website, but we direct you there for research information to help you as you're moving toward becoming that informed arts advocate that is going to be able to come into a school and give some information that will help, or be that informed arts advocate who is inside of the school by sharing some particular information. As you're looking at the FAAE web page, on the left side of the page there's a button that says Advocacy, and if you click on that, it will lead you to resources where you will find many of these pieces of information for you to peruse on your own as you continue to move forward. And so, Susan, let's go to the next, please. We are looking at both national trends and state trends and directions in the work that we're going to do. And so one of the things that is driving education in our country right now is this idea of the 21st century skills. The 21st Century Partnership is actually kind of a unique public-private partnership that includes leaders from education and from business. And the goal of the partnership for the 21st century is to help schools address needs of the 21st century. Some of you might have seen today there was a report on the Alabama legislature talking about not funding and not actually doing quite yet, but talking about putting tablets, meaning iPad-like things, in all of their high schools, and focusing on the use of technology in more ways. That certainly would be in line with some of these 21st century skills. But if you look at this list of 21st century skills, that's kind of a synthesis of what this partnership has been talking about. You're probably struck, as I am, by the fact that these are very much what we do in the arts, that we are addressing creativity and innovation, critical thinking, communication, flexibility. All of these things are what we do. The trick for us is to take some of the vocabulary that we see here on this page, take some of that vocabulary and make it our own, so that when we do something that is a problem-solving venture, such as Laura and Sarah were talking with us about earlier today, that we label it and we let people know that we're building critical thinking skills. So developing the language that is the now language that Florida principals are very interested in is actually going to be helpful and important to the work that we are doing. And go ahead to the next, if you will, Susan. This is the Florida, probably, again, most of you are familiar with the Florida Sunshine State Standards. This current website that I have on the bottom of the page is what I refer to as the next generation Sunshine State Standards, and these are the new Sunshine State Standards that have just been developed and have just come out. They're very different from the old in that they're organized in these 5 areas that are listed here: critical thinking and reflection. Does it sound a little bit like the 21st century skills? Skills, techniques, and processes, organizational structure, historical and global connections, innovation, technology, and the future. And so these 5 big ideas are the organizing building blocks of the standards in the arts. There are specific standards in each of the arts: music, drama, dance, visual arts. They are organized so that at the elementary level, each grade, kindergarten through 5, has its own standards, making it a little tricky for us because we have to check on what's happening in kindergarten, what's happening in 3rd grade. There are standards then for grades 6 through 8 that is one set of standards, and another set of standards that is for grades 9 through 12. These big ideas lead to enduring understandings in the arts. And so I urge you to take a few minutes to go and peruse the Florida Sunshine Standards so that you will be able to be familiar with these, and you will be able to incorporate this set of standards into your lessons and the work that you are doing, both in school and community settings. A word to the wise: don't try to include too many standards in any lesson. Keep your focus. Remember, the idea of focus is really important. So, and Susan, just make another click because we're going to see, whoops, there's a picture on that beaker.
No, no.
Okay. Yeah. In my, no, don't go to Joy yet. We're not ready to go.
We're not there. We're not at Joy.
A little trouble before we can get to Joy. So in my slide of this, I actually have an image of a bumpy road. It has some potholes, and it has some twists and turns, and there might be some trouble ahead. And you probably are thinking, okay, there are some things that I need to really be thinking about. I hope you're thinking that. And so it's not only going to be a smooth road, but as we go on that road together, I think that it's going to be smoother for us, and we will work very hard within this project to have a community of artists, teachers, community educators, higher education, to have a community where we really are building a supportive community to help one another in the work that we're doing. Now, Susan, go ahead. I love this this quote from Elliot Eisner, one of our leaders in arts education in this country. And he says, and Susan, you can go to the next
slide. It's sticking for me. There we go.
Arts are about joy. They are about the experience of being moved, of having one's life enriched, of discovering our capacity to feel. And if that was all they did, they would warrant a generous place at our table. The work you do every day is very important. And in the spirit of the Chinese New Year, I want to close with one of the wishes that they give during this year of the dragon. And it is, may you realize your ambitions. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And we look forward to hearing from you. Susan will be sending a follow-up survey to you. We hope you'll take time to respond to that so that you can share some of your ideas with us, and we can plan and work together to make this be a really beneficial time for us. So thank you for joining us.